Okay, let's continue to section 2.2, Leadership on the Spot and Leadership and Management. In this section, let's look at the difference between the leadership and management and the theories of management. Leadership has received an increased profile of importance in healthcare in recent years, espoused as one of the major influences on patient safety, quality of clinical care, and the shaping of healthcare culture in our society. An upsurge in focus on leadership in healthcare policy and guidance followed. During events such as the recent COVID-19 pandemic, effective leadership is reported to be needed more than ever as we face new and difficult challenges across the healthcare professions and across the globe. Over the last decade, leadership has become an important domain of learning in dentistry. The General Dental Council in UK registers and regulates all dental professionals in the UK and sets out legally binding standards of practice. They include the requirement that management and leadership should be embedded in training from the outset of their dental registrant's career. The Association of Dental Education in Europe, as known as ADEE, developed outcomes expected of a pan-European graduating clinician that include management and leadership. Likewise, the Australian Dental Association published professional competencies of the newly qualified dentist that embed leadership linking to the Australian Health Leads Framework. And the American Dental Association collaborated with dental leadership organizations to create a leadership education framework and toolkit. However, despite widespread enthusiasm, there remains a paucity of information relating to a clear definition, theoretical model, aim, or concept of leadership, making operationalization in educational, development, or training context highly problematic. Anyway, according to the UCO, leader facilitate the dedication, progress, and involvement of the followers in organization. Leadership is reported to a fluid, dynamic, socially constructed, and mediated concept whose meaning changes over time and between cultures. As I've said in the former sections, literature includes a myriad of definitions based on almost a wide variety of underpinning foundations and has been defined in terms of traits, behavior, influence, interaction pattern, role relationships, and occupation of an administrative position. Multiple models and theories exist which have evolved over time. They are often related to the most popular theory of leadership at the time of development, the political and social situation, or the researcher's own prior work. This temporal transition has not been a smooth or linear process, nor has the development of one theory necessarily negated the previous ones. The general trend is from leader being born not made via inherited traits of greatness, to the current prevailing view that everyone in an organization shares the duties of leadership, subscribes to the visions, and takes a fair share of responsibility. That is, leaders are not born but made. In short, the trend is from leaders to leadership. On the other hand, the management is defined as a process that is used to accomplish organizational goals. That is, a process that is used to achieve what an organization wants to achieve, according to the Boris and Voria. In real clinical situation, in most private dental clinics, leaders and managers is hard to be separated in frequent times. Managers should accomplish goals through key functions of planning, organizing, problem solving, budgeting, and controlling subordinates. In organizations, it has been emphasized that to succeed, a well-balanced organization should have a mixture of some excellent leaders and several outstanding managers. Moreover, it has been highlighted that with the combined strengths of the leadership and management, an organization can effectively achieve its goals and objectives by Kozlov. In real clinical situations, most of the UK's dental care is provided by the independent dental contractors that offer dental service to patients in return for payment. We in Korea are not in different situations, actually. And in the UK, it seems that the employee dentists are very many. Now let's define organization and its structure in detail. An organization is defined as a group of people intentionally organized to accomplish an overall common goal or set of goals. Moreover, an organizational structure is defined as a formal configuration between individuals and groups regarding the allocations of tasks, responsibilities, and authority within the organization. In this class, the practice is small and stable business setup, which is not expected to change its sole service of providing high-quality dental care, and its workers' specific roles and responsibilities are characteristic features of functional organization structure. Such an arrangement allows for an organization to be divided into smaller groups, which are based on its major functional areas. The dental practice can be illustrated as having functional organizational structures. More specifically, its dental practice's organizational structure is both pyramidal and hierarchical. It also demonstrates the levels of authority: top management, middle management, and workers. This can be considered further with Mintzberg's model of organization configuration framework. In this, the strategic apex is positioned at the top management level. This encompasses the practice principal and their support staffs, including practice managers. Together, this forms the practice management. The clinicians and dental nurses that perform the organization's focal dental service are collectively the operative core. If we hypothesize our private dental clinics, like in this diagram, the concept of practice manager looks quite evident. Associate dentist could be a part-time or full-time. It is originally deduced from UK situation. However, in Korea, we have dental hygienists and dental ad nurses instead of dental nurses. In this situation, we should focus on the role of practice manager. In research settings, it could be set to similar to postdoc or project manager in large projects. As the dental clinics grows bigger and bigger, we should think over the architectures of our clinics similar to the general business model, although it is a little bit sad story like Davis and Harry Potter. Sometimes the practice principals or managers can be the same person, or practice managers and one of the associate dentists can be the same person. Otherwise, practice manager and one of hygienist and receptionist can be the same person. Within dental practice, it is commonplace for the relationship between the practice principal and the clinicians to be based on the contract. This allows the clinicians to use and access the practice principal's facilities, including the surgery equipment, materials, staff, and patients, however, in return for a fee. The associate dentists provide the dental treatment as performers under the practice principal's provider contracts with governments. This can be partners with their own stakes or just employees. As to be expected within healthcare settings, there exists a large amount of government and regulatory body legislation that must be followed. Likewise, there is a large number of fixed in-house rules, regulations, and policies that all of the dental practices the workers must abide by. The practice manager manages the clinician, whilst the associate practice manager manages the dental nurse, a working unit. By using two practice managers and therefore delegating PM-related roles and responsibilities to them, the practice principals has lessened their own volume of work considerably. The associate practice manager was previously a dental nurse at the practice. They were promoted to a management role by the practice principal to support the workload of the practice manager. From the business standpoint, the practice manager has allowed certain clinicians and dental nurses with strong bonds to work together on a long-term basis. Moreover, if a clinician has not met their sufficient target, then they can be subjected to a cold shoulder type reaction from the practice manager. Amongst the practice manager, the dental nurses and clinicians are considered as working at the same level. In the case where a dental nurse may have made an error, the clinician is required to report this to the associate practice manager, who will then liaise with the dental nurses at their discretion. The practice manager has disallowed the clinicians from addressing the dental nurses about any of their mistakes. Likewise, the dental nurses are forbidden from consulting a clinician about any concern, and instead they must report this to the practice manager, who will then handle the matter at their discretion. Occasionally, the dental practice workers partake in dentally related continuing professional development activities that are held on site. The practice manager will decide when these are to occur, and they often partake on the non-working days of certain part-time clinicians. Practice meetings are conducted on a sporadic basis and are generally arranged at short notice by the practice manager. These are always chaired by the practice managers and longest-standing associate dentist. Now let's discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of some prevailing leadership and management theories. As you already know, there is an array of literature on several contemporary leadership theories. The Transformational Leadership theory is believed to be the most prominent leadership theory that guides the current healthcare leadership research, according to the West et al. In 2015. The transformational leadership is a leadership type that can inspire positive changes in those who follow. Transformational leaders are generally energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate. Not only are these leaders concerned and are involved in the process, they are also focused on helping every member of the group succeed as well. Burns describes the transformational leadership theory as a process where leaders and followers help each other to advance to a higher level of morale and motivation. Bass, in 1985, later developed this theory. He added that the transformational leadership can be defined based on the effect which it has on followers, and that leaders garner admiration, trust, and respect from their followers. Bass and Avolio in 1994 stated that the theory consists of four factors, namely idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. They further affirm that the transformational leader possesses qualities that help with the survival of an organization. However, there are some debates. Conversely, Nordhaus has debated that because the transformational leadership theory's four factors are too alike, This prevents a clear distinction from other similar leadership theories. He further describes the transformational leadership theory as being the elitist and that is places unbalanced importance on the heroic elements of leadership without considering the followers' actual requirements. Several contemporary management theories are contained within the literature. However, it has been suggested that the contingency management theory made of invaluable use within healthcare organizations by Ordens. The contingency management is often called motivational incentive, the price method, or the carrot and stick method. The contingency management approach, sometimes also referred to as the motivational incentives, is based on the principles of upfront conditioning that behavior is shaped by its consequences. The contingency management theory, which has evolved from the historical research, postulates that managers' management style can be modified to suit a given situation. Morgan later proposed that the managers, when forming a decision, must evaluate all internal and external variables that related to a present situation and then act upon those that are most essential. Henceforth, the manager's decisions will be dependent on the situational factor. This highlights the need for them to be flexible and adaptive. However, Burns has debated that managers who use the contingency management theory may not have any choices or power over the situational factor and that they are forced to alter their own internal practices to adapt to the external factors. Like such, in reference to the above hypothetical scenario, there appears to be a lack of transformational leadership and contingency management within the dental practice. There are no clear indications that the practice manager is instilling trust, respect, and admiration in all of the workers. Equally, there are no signs that the PM is working flexibly and adaptively to accommodate the needs of all whole workforce. So, with its business-like relationships and firm hierarchical structure, the dental practice could be seen as applying a somewhat bureaucratic approach. Bureaucracy has been referred to as management by the position or office rather than by a person or patrimonial. The bureaucratic management theory was first purported by Max Weber. Greenwood and Lawrence summarized this theory by relating it to managers that use a definite set of rules to manage organizations to impersonally that authority equates to an individual's role. In other words, the practice management roles and that the authority can be passed on from one individual to another. For example, practice principals to practice managers. Weber assumed that the administrative operations embodied a system of control which is built on knowledge. He further proclaimed that the decisive reason for the advance of the bureaucratic organization has always been its purely technical superiority over any other form of organization. Clear, strict rules and well-defined lines of authority are believed to contribute towards this superiority. As further discussed by Dave Weber, characteristics of the bureaucratic organization include clear definition of authority and responsibility of each worker. For example, the dental practice's functional organization structures and the associate practice managers having the absolute authority address a dental nurse's error, maintaining all paperwork in regard to the organization's activity, workers to be appointed and not elected, workers to abide by the strict rules and policies. An impersonal relationship between managers and subordinates. Ruzbahani and his colleagues claimed that the bureaucratic leadership involves leaders that uphold business-like conduct in the workplace and are empowered by their positional role, expect followers to obey them as their authority is bestowed upon them due to their organizational position, enforces firm and systematic disciplines on the followers, and promote followers based on their ability to conform to the organizational rule. But there is a concern about the abuse of power. Bendix explains that there can be an abuse of power within bureaucratically structured organizations. There are signs of unequal privileges and favoritism towards certain clinicians. And there could be even a hidden hierarchy amongst their workforce. Micromanagement, which refers to control of every minute organizational detail that resultantly hinders progress and disregards wider, higher-level policy issues, may be further consequences of bureaucracy, leadership, and management. According to the White, signs of micromanagement are apparent within the hypothetical scenario. For instance, the practice manager possesses full control over the clinician's appointment diaries, and the practice manager's demands to be the sole part of core for addressing clinicians' dental nurse difficulties. This, in turn, deprives the clinicians and dental nurses of any autonomy of organizing their own clinical schedules, and from attempting to first try and resolve any conflicts between themselves. Now, let's move on to the transactional leadership. Transactional leadership is defined by control, organization, and short-term planning. Leaders who adopt this style rely on a system of reward and punishment to motivate their followers. There are also few key assumptions associated with transactional leadership. Rewards and punishment are motivating for followers. Burns purports that transactional leadership produces the short-term relationship between leaders and followers which are superficial and can cause resentment. Moreover, because transactional leadership's leader-follower exchanges uses a one-size-fits-all system, it fails to appreciate the whole situation and the future of the organization. Factors including the organizational structure of the dental practice. Yet, everyday practice of dentistry, the thorough and in-depth legislation, the clinician's business-like contracts may well complement bureaucratic and transactional leadership and management approaches. These are likely to have a deep-rooted existence, with the practice management being far accustomed to this method. Because the dental practice is well established in the public domain, the practice management may feel that such methods are impacting positively towards the organization's success, and they are therefore reliant upon them. Nonetheless, the hypothetical scenario uncovers the practice of detachment, abuse of authority, and preferential treatment that appears to be exploited by the practice manager. Instead, using the transformational leadership traits of inspiring, motivating all workers, as well as the contingency management approach of being flexible and adaptable to everyone's needs, would be far more empowering. This could also help the practice manager adhere to the standards for the dental team principle that are advocated by the General Dental Council. As times are changing, dental practices may well have to face immediate and radical changes. Therefore, dental leaders, managers, clinicians, and allied workers must not be complacent. They should remember the following impacts on the dental professions. Contingency management approaches that require flexibility and adaptability from the practice manager teams may, therefore, become essential in handling increasing pressures and unforeseen circumstances. Amidst times of uncertainty, perhaps dental leaders and managers may also benefit from using a situational leadership approach. Similar to contingency management, situational leaders evaluate a given situation to consider its circumstances and the worker's needs. Subsequently, leaders will implement the leadership style that is most applicable to both the situation and the maturity level of the followers. While situational leadership benefits from being adaptable, its theory considers leaders' behavior as either task or relation-oriented. Task-oriented leaders stipulate the roles of the followers, provide exact instructions, generate strategies, and arrange formal communication networks. Relation-oriented leaders empathizes with their followers, try to lessen any emotional struggles, build harmonious rapports, and enable equal opportunities. Such leadership style may only be fruitful if well throughout amounts of task and relation-oriented behaviors are used. Regarding leadership and management education, it has been reported that the undergraduate dental training contains only a minimal leadership and management education beyond the clinical settings. Nonetheless, dentists are expected to lead teammates and manage business operations. Not all dentists will pursue formal training or education in leadership and management skills. This could simply be learned through trial and error, replicating seniors' approaches or by partaking in professional projects. However, such methods may be unproductive. Nalia strongly argues that dentists do not lead, they manage. They just manage. By applying this notion to the introductory definition, this could suggest that some dentists may not be innovative, inspiring, courageous, flexible, and independent. Instead, they may be analytical, consulting, deliberate, stabilizing, and authoritative. This could also suggest that some dentists may not have the capabilities to facilitate the dedication, progress, and environmental followers in the organization. Instead, they may possess the capability to accomplish goals through key functions of planning, organizing, problem-solving, budgeting, and controlling subordinates. Additionally, many dentists are thought to be unaware of their own leadership and management techniques and thus their bearing on teammates. Negative leadership and management approaches may adversely affect staff morale and retentions. In some cases, such approaches could be perceived as unprofessional and as a form of bullying. With new widening participant schemes and graduate entry dental training programs, increasing immigration of the overseas and dental professionals wanting new and lucrative employment opportunities, newer postgraduate courses, qualification and specialty training options for dentists, professionalization of dental care professionals, growing popularity in cosmetic dentistry, heightening dependence on social media as marketing and networking tools, and continual advancement in dental techniques, products, and materials. The workforce of dental practice is now more diverse than ever. For such organizations to excel in these times, leaders and managers must capitalize on their followers and subordinates' individual strengths and promote a positive environment where all teammates can prosper. Practice manager teams must also establish a shared vision which all of the workers are enthused to work together. So, there is a new concept of inclusive leadership. Inclusive leadership considers the leaders that use behaviors which helps all workers feel that they can preserve their sense of individuality and that they belong to the organization. For instance, non-discriminatory treatment of all clinicians, no sense of entitlement towards particular workers. Continuing practice development activities are accessible to all workers, and the practice manager handles workers' concerns fairly and transparently. By using such an leadership and management approach, perhaps bureaucratic organizational hierarchies can be contemporized and transformed into more flat and equal and inclusive structures. So what is the favorable leadership and management approaches? Leadership and management approaches used within dental practice must aim to be inclusive, adaptive, and forward-thinking, and they should promote the good physical and mental well-being of all workers. Dental professionals are governed to act in their patients' best interest and to provide high-quality clinical care. Similarly, such principles ought to be applied when leading and managing followers and subordinates. Maintaining stable practice operations, achieving financial profit, and upholding a good reputation will, of course, be important for any practice managers. However, these considerations should not be the prime and sole focus of any leadership and management approaches. So finally, move on to the conclusions. Whilst bureaucratic and transactional leadership and management styles were apparent in the clinical settings, actual dental practices may be using different approaches that may be more positive or applicable to their own circumstances. No sole manner of leadership and management is universally correct or innately superior to another. Each has its advantages and disadvantages. Depending on the given circumstances, there may be a place for bureaucratic, transactional, transformational, contingency, and any other leadership and management methods, and only if they are to be used in the best interest of the workforce and workplace. Thank you for watching.